First off, gravel everywhere. Secondly, this lay-by is exactly the same lay-by that a truck dived into as I was coming back up this road. Rather than going straight to the junction and turning left, I'm going parallel with the road so I can actually see in my mirror any traffic coming up behind me. It's no point trying to use a sun visor because if you go into a shadow, you're completely blinded if you're wearing shades. Cat's eyes, cat's eyes, cat's eyes, cat's eyes. Road markings are dangerous for bikes because they're slippery. Junctions, always expect some blind or somebody don't give a crap farmer to just shoot straight across the road. That junction had 3 separate entrances to it, as well as a crossroads. Anyhow, be aware you can have somebody who might come out. Expect every driveway to have rampant kids trying to commit suicide. Junctions on straight roads are guaranteed to have somebody trying to shoot across quick. Any hill you see, you may have somebody coming down. Anytime you see a car, expect another car to come around a bend toward you. These cat's eyes are the modern type, modern as in the past 30 years. They're fairly flat, but you still get, especially in Devon, the old-fashioned cat's eyes. This road, middle of the lane, a lot of gravel. The older cat's eyes that you still get on this road, especially in Devon, are the old-fashioned ones, and they're raised. They're slippery, they're very dodgy on a bike. You have to be so careful crossing the white line with those cat's eyes. If you look at the middle of the lane here, that I'm crossing over, I'm going onto the outside of the lane because I'm approaching a double bend, so I've got better visibility. The best place to be when you're riding a bike is where a car driver would be. That is where the road is kept clear by their tyres. If you're in the middle of the lane, it's great in theory, but in reality, that is where you get all the crap building up. All the glass, all the metal, all the other crap, that's where it builds up. If you're in the position where I am here, that gives you the best visibility and the best space if shit does happen. Coming up to this bit here, there's a gate on the left hand side. It's barely visible, blink and you miss it. It's hidden by grass. A digger came out of there, a mini digger, about a month ago, just shot straight across the road and parked, blocking the lane. Now these people, I don't know if they intend to kill people, but they just sit there and grin because they know the worst punishment they will get is a few points on their license. This bend, there, you've got a metal grate and a 3-inch gap between the metal plate and the white line. If you don't hit it in between, you'll slide. So you've either got to slow right down or be a really good aim. Always expect vehicles on the wrong side of the road. Always. When I came back down this road, there was a Jay's transport truck. Great big bloody truck that you could fit a minibus in the back of. He spent most of his time on the wrong side of the road on all of these bends, doing about 70 miles an hour. And he eventually dived into the lay-by. Yes, I do have him on camera doing it. Always expect, with hedges this low, for a cow or a llama to jump over. Always have a place where you can dive in and aim for. There's no point in trying to dive to the left because all you're going to do is go into a tree. You go into the right, you'll hit a hedge, but it'll slow you down if you do crash. Every gate, every opening, every gap in the hedge, expect a truck, a tractor, a herd of sheep to come running out. And even though you can't really see it in this light, there are holes all along this road. Now you don't notice it in a car, but a hole can make your front wheel slide out from underneath you. If you look at the side of the verges, you'll see fresh dirt on all the side of these verges. The reason you got fresh dirt is because large vehicles use it and cut the verge. It's generally done by tractors, but mainly done by tour buses and coaches. They're too large for the road, and yet they will actually hit the verges, hit the sides of the road. Always look out for metal grates and metal manhole covers on the ground. They are worse than ice, even when dry. It's better to go on the wrong side of the road than to try and hit them sideways. If you can hit them upright, you won't slide. You'll keep traction. If you hit them at an angle on a bend, like here you got 5, then you'll slide. Another 6. These are all put down without any thought about bikes, only about cars. Another thing about road signs for cars, most of the road signs on the road are done for car drivers. There's only about 2% are actually done for bikes. Everything else is all 4 wheels and more. This is very, very evident when you get something like coming up here. This is in Porlock. Heading up to a big hazard here is the car in the front. Yes, all vehicles are hazards, but the main hazard with this vehicle, it's German. Don't mention the far. It's not because they are German, it's because they are in a left-hand drive vehicle. There are 2 problems with this. Firstly, they've got limited visibility. They're not going to know how wide their vehicle is because they're driving on the left-hand side of a road and their steering wheel is on the left-hand side. They're not going to be able to see you because their mirrors are all geared towards driving on the right-hand side. The other big issue with this is that they're not going to give a crap if they run you off the road, because all they've got to do is make a mad dash for their ferry and they're back in Deutschland. It's the same for most tourists. They won't give a crap. Roads like this do not get close behind any vehicle. I had one on this road last week. He stalled it and actually just rode straight back, and I had to basically keep out of the way or he's going to hit me. If you're anywhere near a risk of somebody running into you backwards or pushing you into somebody, keep yourself as close to the white line as possible. This way, if they do come back, you can just sneak out of the way. If you're right behind them or in the middle of the lane, you have got nowhere to go. This kind of an area, you've got to be really careful of any rocks on the ground, because you get tractors coming out. They don't care if they spew rocks all over the road. And there's 2 places on this road between Porlock and Lynmouth where they actually put rocks on the ground by hand to slow people down. So it's not done as an accident, it's actually intentional. There's a woman on Porlock Hill does exactly the same thing. She hates bikers, people on bikes, and she actually throws water out when it's freezing, so actually to make ice on the road. Coming up to this bit, wobbly, 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 wobbly. The camera is fitted to the nose of my bike by a bit of foam and whatever. On this section, the big danger is a cattle grid. A cattle grid is like segregated ice. If you hit it upright, you're fine. If you hit it at an angle or go around a bend, you'll slide. You'll lose traction unless you keep your body weight vertical. Lean the bike over if you have to, but keep your body straight up. That way, all the weight is going straight down, you don't slide. Also, before you hit the cattle grid, accelerate. Slow down if you want first, but accelerate as you hit it. This will raise your front wheel and take the pressure off your front suspension and put your rear suspension, which has that junction, 5-way junction. It's a blind junction on the right hand side. Vehicles and the ice cream van does come out without looking. They just don't give a shit. The biggest danger to you on the road with other vehicles is that they have crumple zones. They have airbags. They've been conditioned to say, I didn't see you. So they know they don't have to worry about killing you because they won't get in trouble. They can just claim on the insurance. This bit of road is fine. It is very slippery because all the tarmac's been worn smooth in places. That's why it's so shiny. You even get metal covers up here. You get sheep up here sometimes and horses. Generally, they're not too bad. The horses, they're just mental. But if you do come off here, I would advise you to try to slide to the left, where you may get a couple of broken bones on the moors. If you go to the right, you're looking at a good 100-foot drop. This is a very tempting fast straight. You can do 120 miles an hour easily on this bendy bit. Obviously I wasn't at the time. But you've got to bear in mind there's holes all along the road. You have to pick your line very carefully. You've also got a junction on the left, 2 entrances on the right for excuse me, for farmland. You've also got, because you've got the evergreen trees on the right hand side, this is a prime nesting ground for pheasants. And pheasants are suicidal bastards. They won't just sit there and wait, they will aim for you. Trees over the road look very pretty. They also drop sticks, leaves, twigs, dead animals onto the road. Also, because it's covered, for some reason, road workers don't like fixing roads under trees. I don't know why they're scared of the green man, I don't know. But this road is completely churned up by tractor tires. Here, rock on the road, rock on the road, rock on the road, on the bend. These are deposited by the farmer, and he does a big load of rocks. He drops just about I hope I can get the audio synced up. Where's that bit here? There we go, there. He actually drops rocks there on the road. I've seen him doing it more than once. I've posted videos of him doing it. He will actually park up on the left-hand side entrance to his farm, and he would just dump a load of rocks on the road. It's very tempting to floor it here, because you can do 160. But you've got gateways on the right-hand side, gateways on the left-hand side. You've got expensive farmhouses on the left, and rich people don't give a shit because they have BMWs with airbags. Here, if you get shading, you're less chance of you seeing if there's crap on the road or oil on the road. You get blinded by the light, and your vision is badly messed up when you go into shade. This is why it's very important you do not use sunglasses or your sun visor, because as soon as you hit a shadow, you're completely blind. If you're going to overtake, you have to time how long it's going to take you to get past, assuming that vehicle is going to see you, get pissed off, and try to swipe you out of the way, or try to accelerate, or do something else to try and kill you. Always expect the worst. Here, for example, it looks nice and fine, except you got tour buses come up here, they churn up the sides of the hedges. Where we see the light dirt on the side of the road, that is where a tour bus has gone off the road, churned up, which means you're going to get dirt and rocks on the road. Believe me, it takes one stone for you to hit your front wheel and you're screwed. All the brown on the road is shit from the farmers. Now, it might not look very much of an issue, but when it gets compressed, it is like hitting ice. You will just slide. It's very, very dodgy. If you're not sure what you're doing, avoid it like the plague and slow right down. And this goes on for about 5 miles with the crap on the road. Along this stretch, the biggest danger is the barbed wire on the sides of the road. The junctions, you've got a good visibility because you're quite high up. But the barbed wire fences, if you come off and hit that, it will cut you in half. Another big danger on this road, the scenery is fucking awesome. That bend is banned because of the junction. It's a very popular tourist place. This section of road has rocks in the middle of the lane nearly continuously. You can't see it that much on the camera, but believe me, it's not just gravel, it's rocks. You hit one of those and slide, you're not going to stop until you've covered at least a mile through the air, because it's such a sheer drop off to the right hand side. There's actually like a little lay-by on the right hand side, just about here someplace. Don't go into it if you're coming that way. It is a severe drop and it is very steep, and it's hell's work to get a bike out of it. All along here, you have sheep running wild, you have cows running wild, you have off to the left on the moors, you've got transvestite Angus running loose up there. They're scary bastards. safe to say I like the sound of my own voice, because no bugger else does. Things to be more careful of as well. Some stuff happens time-wise, like in the evening and in the morning, sometimes during the day, but generally dawn and dusk, an hour either side, you'll get the little animals coming out. They're little cute furry fuckers, like bunnies, and they do like to fuck about on the road. I don't know why. There's just no food on it, but they are very, very slippery when you hit them, and they squeak. This road, nice straight, hardly any hazards whatsoever. And it's very tempting because you can get up to 160 on that bit. And it is a very nice temptation to do because you've got no junctions, no gate openings to fields, no other grief. And it's a relatively good couple of turns, a couple of bends. This is a very dodgy bend because on the right-hand side of the gate opening, there's also a flood that comes out if it rains too much. You don't get any warnings for this, but now and again that will flood. And if it gets to about 1-2 degrees Celsius inland, it'll be below freezing up there with the wind chill factor coming over from Wales, and you'll have ice on that bend. You also get on this road tourists, not swear too much, who like to park up and take pictures of the field, because I'm sure they don't have fields where they come from. This road, fairly clear, but you do get hidden junctions. You have to bear in mind that the cat's eyes are not continuous. They'll pop up whenever they feel like it. Also, the big sheep on the side of the road on the left-hand side is not a sheep, it's a log. You get horses up here on this section, because off to the right is an IRA depot. Sorry, I mean a National Trust lighthouse. And they keep feeding the horses in the same place to dissuade people from going there. This is a nice bend to go on, except for some reason, on the end of this bend, which you can do a happy 90, people like to park up and take pictures of the scenery on this bend, which is a fairly dodgy bend and is nowhere to get past. Just past there on the right-hand side on the road was concrete. Yeah, a layer of concrete, because they couldn't be asked using tarmac. All the cattle grids treat them the same. Slow down as much as you want to, but accelerate just before you hit it to raise your front forks. Coming down through here, you've got lots of crappy patches on the road. You've got lots of entrances to gateways. You've got a pub. You've got people who think they own the road because they're old, and therefore you will magically pass right through them. That little hamlet is basically a pub, that area. I've had coaches grinding past each other going through there. I've had them taking chunks out of these walls, leaving rocks on the roads, which you have to navigate and hope you don't hit. Don't come over this rise like I do at 70. Come over it nice and easy, because if you slip on any of these metal grates, and there's a lot of metal grates on this road, you'll just slide straight off the edge. There's nothing to stop you until you hit the ocean. Sorry, the estuary. I had an argument about the ocean before. Here, some of these cat's eyes are okay. Some of them are the old-fashioned design. If you overtake on these and you don't time it to go in between the cat's eyes, you'll find your front wheel wobbling and it may slide. But coming down here, you have to think 200 yards ahead. Where are the next metal grates on the road? Because they're about every 500 meters. You got to bear in mind, as soon as you hit shadow, for some reason, none of these workers will actually fill holes in shadows. I don't know why. I don't know if they're Irish vampires. I have no idea. But this used to be my favorite hill climb for the past few years. Coming up from Lynmouth Hill was great fun. You could really floor it in first and sometimes second gear, get to about 120 and have a lot of fun relatively safely. But since they've been building this hotel up on the left-hand side here, they have churned this road into shit. And it is like an assault course. It is that bad. And if you hit gouge marks in the road, if you hit grooves in the road, if you hit a line of concrete in the road, which you have a lot of on this section, your wheels will get stuck into it like a tram line, and you won't have a choice. You'll just have to follow where the groove takes you and crash and die. You will also get on this road, guaranteed, fucking tourists on the wrong side of the road on the blind bend at the bottom of this hill. It happens every single time I come down this road. That car was on the wrong side of the road on the bend. Car coming up is on the wrong side of the road. He switched over just as I came down. You've always got to expect that everybody is out to kill you. So, like these junctions, you always get people parking up. Oh, isn't it pretty? Let's take a picture. No, it's a fucking junction. Go on the left, illegally parked. Go on the right, illegally parked. The van refused to move out of the way, just stopped blocking the road. They assume that because they've got the biggest vehicle, car and a van parked in the bus stop, because they've got the biggest vehicle, that means they're safe and they can do whatever they want. That is just the mentality of people if they've got more than two wheels. Always go careful on these roads. Don't go on the wrong side of the road on the bend, because you can guarantee somebody will do the same coming towards you. If someone's coming towards you in the middle of the lane, aim for them, but keeping the mentality, how quickly can you get the fuck out of the way if they don't move? If you don't, then what they will do is just keep coming across until you end up hitting the pavement. They think that because they have a larger vehicle, that entitles them to more width of the road. This is called bollocks, and not the happy-daggly kind. Makes no difference how wide your vehicle is. Everyone has the same right to the same width of road. Oh, look, I shut up for a second. See, if you had your sun visor down now, nice bright sunshine, it's fine. But as soon as you hit a tree branch, you're blinded. Metal cover on the ground. More metal covers on the ground. This is a nice bendy road to practice on. If you want to get some practice in on feathering your clutch, feathering your clutch is the best skill you can learn on a bike. It's where you manipulate the clutch, your throttle, and your brakes. On this stretch of road, it's so dodgy. Yes, it's nice shiny tarmac, but metal plate on the ground, patch of compressed grass on the ground, another metal plate on the ground, another metal plate on the ground. These are all like water plates. Big one on the right hand side that's actually recessed, so it makes it worse. Another metal plate on the ground, another patch of compressed grass on the ground. See, they drop lawn cuttings off the back of a van or back of a trailer. Don't give a shit. But when it gets compressed, it's like hitting a lump of ice. You always get them cutting corners on these roads. You have to not hog the hedge or the wall, but keep fairly close to it just in case someone's coming down the wrong side of the road. Half the time you will find people on this junction, they'll just stall the engine because they haven't got a clue how to use the vehicles. There's gouge marks in the road here, so you have to go in the middle of the road or slightly across. Otherwise, you end up getting sucked into these gouge marks. Going uphill, do not get too close to the vehicles in front. If they can't handle the vehicle they're using, which is most people, then they could roll back into you. And they won't give a shit that you're on a bike. They'll expect you to reverse and get out of the way. They don't even occur to them that you don't have a reverse gear. So this is why I'm keeping a nice gap between him and myself. I just had a feeling he was going to do something dodgy, so keep a nice gap. I'm keeping more to the left because if somebody comes past him toward me, they're likely to overcompensate and go more to my side of the road. Lots of manhole covers through here, lots and lots. See, where my position is at the moment, if he does roll backwards, I've got a gap to his left where I can escape. Whereas if I was in the middle, I would have less chance of escaping. If I was on the right, there's more chance of being hit by an oncoming vehicle. But these are all things you have to keep in mind, you have to keep considering. You have to expect every shop door to have a herd of horny kids coming out and run screaming across the road. You have to expect people in wheelchairs to just say, "Come here, baby," and ride in front of you. There was a child just then on the side of the road bouncing. They are the most dangerous things on the frickin' pavement. A hyperactive, bouncy child. Boing, boing, boing. Oh, I can't bike. Boom. Next thing you know, you've got a 3-year-old as a hood ornament. So, lots of manhole covers, lots of manhole covers. That's a good pavement to go on if the road's blocked, but it is a very steep curb to jump off. Not that I would never actually do that. Lots of manhole covers up here. If you hit them, you're going to slide and you could smack your ass off that wall, which does not look very comfy. What people don't seem to realise is that when you come through living up to this point, past all these bloody manhole covers, that you get to the point just about up here where it's actually a 60 mile per hour sign. Somewhere, eventually. I know there is one somewhere. Excuse me. It's a national speed limit applies signpost. So you can do 60 down here. But yet, because it's a tourist location, everyone gets pissed off if you do more than a walking pace. And I had some guy, I think it was on this run actually, jumped in front of me and started waving his arms for me to slow down. I was doing 35 miles an hour at the time because I was going, "Ooh, cute little goats." Things you have to, other distractions, yes, you've got babes, they distract you. But other things will distract you more than a pair of tits bouncing down the road. Cute puppies, not that kind of puppies, but cute animals are very distracting because tits make you go, yeah. Puppies make you go, "Oh, cuddles," conflicted. So it's that kind of thing you have to be aware of as well. You have to stay focused on what you're doing, whilst at the same time looking to the sides, gravel, rocks, goats, cute baby goats, prick parked on the roundabout to take pictures of the goats trying to commit suicide. These are things you have to consider about. You have to look at the goats and see which way they are going to run. Are they going to try to attack you, or are they just going to say, fuck it, keep it? See, that guy was there was screaming and shouting, and yet I was so far on the right-hand side of the road to go around him, I was nearly on the grass, which I shouldn't have done. I should have just stayed on my course, on my side of the road, but he was actually stepping into the road, waving at me and shouting at me. Believe me, the temptation to get a golf club, not that I play golf. Yeah, and this guy who works for the Coast Guard is not just parked up on the side of the road having a little wank break. He's parked up blocking an entrance for disabled vehicles and for horses and carts. So he's actually blocking the entrance to that road. If you hit a stone on this, you've got a very long drop on the left-hand side down to the sea. No fences, no gates, nothing to stop you. A lot of rocks on the road. I do mean a lot of rocks. At this point, I'm only doing, because of the goats, I slowed. The maximum speed I was doing on that road was 45 miles an hour. The speed limit is 60. But I was taking it easy, enjoying myself, and I'm also aware that there's animals running around, goats running around. You can get snakes on the road as well, especially in summertime. They do like to sunbathe on the tarmac. Always be aware of car parks because you never know what prick is going to come shooting out. If you got someone in the car park with the music playing, they're not going to hear a bike. They're not going to give a shit about looking for you either. So always be careful for car parks, entrances, driveways. The cricket club on the left-hand side, back there, be aware that you may get smacked in the head with a cricket ball. This road, the location as well makes it dodgy because it's a local road for local people. So you end up having people on the wrong side of the road thinking it's their road, they're local, and they can drive wherever they want and do whatever they want. Trees on the left mean you're going to get branches on the road. Be more careful about this after a high storm. If there's a lot of wind, a lot of rain, there's more chance of branches and debris being on the road. Coming through town, You've got other hazards. You can really tell I don't get that much because I'm talking about fun. Right. Going through a village or a town, you've got more concerns as well because you can have crap on the road. It can be smashed glass. It can be bottles. It can be people running out of these B&Bs drunk. You can also get a lot of sweet wrappers and crisp packets. People walking their dogs. The dog might get loose and run into the road. You might have people throwing things into the road. Don't get distracted by kids going, rev it, rev it, rev it, rev it. Yes, obviously you have to give it a rev to keep the kids happy, but focus on what you're doing rather than just revving the bike. Junction on the right hand side. Cars will come out of there, even though it's a one-way street, go in the opposite direction and just not give a shit. For some reason, people in these areas do not give a crap about the fact that it's a two-way street and that's a tourist area. Several junctions on the left that are tourist only. You will have people coming out of there, generally speaking, a lot of Americans who don't even know how to drive on the left-hand side, and most of them don't give a crap. Car parked up on the left-hand side blocking the junction. Vehicles parked illegally on the other side blocking junctions, blocking entrances to side streets. I'm staying so far back right now because there's cars coming through and I was worried that car in front might try and reverse. Always give yourself an escape route. The way that I stopped then, it gave me an escape route to the left down that driveway if that car did decide to reverse back. Buses on the right hand side, the transit on the right hand side, both had blacked out front windows. If they've got blacked out windows, it's less chance of them seeing you. So always be cautious, always be wary of people with blacked out windows. Lots of gouge marks on the road, some of them 8 inches deep. If you go into that, you could come off quite easily. This is the junction where these motorcycle instructors, dickheads, you see the gouge marks here on the road, where they fall off. It is not because they're hitting a hole in the road or ice or anything of that nature. It is simply because they do not know how to feather the clutch. They do not know how to ride a bike that is as heavy as the ones that they ride correctly and safely. If they knew how to feather the clutch, they could come up and down this road on this really tight bend, which is at a 45-degree angle. It's that steep, at a walking pace without any issues, but they don't. See, that car in front should have waited, but he just darted across. That's why I kept right back out of the way. That concrete thing on the left-hand side, if you cut that corner too sharp, you will crush your ankle against it. It's better to get your feet out of the way, let your bike take the impact, than keeping your feet on the pegs. Manhole covers, manhole buckers, lots of nice new tarmac that is really, really slippery because it's cheap tarmac. You've also got manhole covers down here that are set in the ground, which means you're going to hit it, go down and slide. It's better to just slow right to, you see these signposts that say keep in low gear? That is a car sign, a van sign, a truck sign. It is not for motorcycles. Do not get in low gear and stay in low gear when you're coming down these hills. Because a motorcycle is not a car. You don't have 4 brakes or a massive gearbox. You got a dinky little gearbox. Even if see this prick just stopped right on the junction, no indicating, nothing. And because he didn't use his brakes have lights for a reason. It's so you can tell people behind you that you're stopping. Because people don't bother using their brakes, they just take the foot off the accelerator. It means they can come to a stop and you won't know until they've stopped. But these things about coming down steep hills, in a car, you keep it in low gear because the gearbox can handle it. On a motorcycle, your gearbox cannot handle the weight of you. Here I'm going over the white line to avoid the holes in the road. Believe me, there are some severe holes in this road. And a really good view, unfortunately. It's too distracting. The way that I come down a steep hill is either come down in 6th gear at a reasonable pace. Okay, this hill I come down doing 70, but coming down the other side of Lymouth Hill, I'll come down there doing 30 miles an hour in 6th gear with my clutch half pulled in. Sometimes I'll just pull the clutch in and coast it. Because that way, on this hill, there are metal slabs, grates, whatever you want to call them, in the middle of the road, so you have to be very careful. I went over that one upright. If you go upright, it's okay. If you've got an angle, like leaning, then, like I'm here, it can be very dodgy and you can slide. Sliding to the right, you hit the hedge. Sliding to the left, you end up in the sea. Here, because it's so tight, you see the discoloration on the left-hand side where it's all light dirt coloured. That's where the coaches keep taking chunks out of that hedge and that wall, which means you get rocks. That means you're going to get rocks on the road. As soon as you see a house, expect dickheads to be parked in the road, like this dickhead. You see a pub, expect drunk people and children running across the road, because it's a countryside. It's a giant footpath. Lots of gates, lots of crap on the road, lots of rocks, which is why I'm going so nice and easy. Oh, and for a change, the video footage has not been sped up, modified in any way. I'm not even going to zoom in. I'm just going to add on my talking bollocks. But yeah, if going down a hill, a lot of the time, I would just either stick it in neutral and coast it with my hand on the clutch just in case it slips into gear. Some bikes are pretty good for not slipping into gear. Other bikes are notorious for going into gear whenever the fuck they want to. Ducati is the worst I've ever come across. And you can be sat in a junction at the lights in neutral, slightest touch of the revs, and it will go into gear. And you'll find yourself ramming the vehicle in front if there's anything in front of you. It's rare I get a vehicle in front of me at a junction because I just filter straight to the front. But you have to be very careful of that. And if you're in neutral at a junction waiting, keep your hand on the clutch just in case it slips into gear. Sometimes a gearbox can just do it whenever it wants to. But take special care on roads like this. For dickheads on the wrong side of the road, it's all this discoloration where it's a light colour, that is where it's been freshly gouged out by buses. It's one sign you can look for. If it's been gouged out by buses and by tractors, then that means there's going to be crap on the road. You see my line, nothing is set in stone. My line is generally where a car driver would sit. That is my most common line because that is where I get the best visibility and the best space to manoeuvre. But here I'm on the left because it's on the bend and I know cars are going to be on the wrong side of the road. The place to avoid the most is where I am right now, which is, well, briefly, is smack in the middle of the lane. That is where you're going to get all the crap building up. Oil, glass, metal, dog ears, anal probes, everything's going to end up right in the middle of that lane. Cross over it if you want, but don't stay in it. It's guaranteed at the very least you're going to get punctures. You're going to get your radiator split open by stone chips. But you can see the difference here. Green hedge, yellow hedge, gorse, crocodillo, gorse, crocodillo, choco, no much choco. But where you get the fresh dirt, that is where it's been gouged out by vehicles. Because it's an A road, but it's not exactly wide enough anywhere for two double-deckers to pass. And you get double-deckers up here. You get big international coaches going up here. Every black piece of tarmac you see here is where the surface layer has been worn away and it's smooth. That's why I'm trying to avoid most of the black, because you don't get as much grip and it's very smooth. Coach. Do not overtake a coach unless you know exactly what you're doing, what your capabilities are, what the bike's capabilities are, and you need to know exactly how much distance you need to get past a coach. This coach is traveling at 50 miles an hour. If I were to get this wrong, I would be dead. It's that simple. There's no get out of jail free gap between the coach and anything coming toward me. So you have to know exactly how much capability you've got and how much your bike has got. If you've got any issues with your carbs and your bike's not going to have the right power when you slip the clutch, don't do it. It's not worth the risk. I take a lot of risk, but I know my capabilities. I know my bikes. I'm quite happy to spend my time doing 50 miles an hour. I'm also fairly happy to go a little bit quicker. And don't like getting stuck behind vehicles. This bit, I'm not going to say how fast I'm going, although I will say it's very fucking bumpy over 90. On the left-hand side here, it's not too bad. You get rocks on the road from the tour buses where they clip the hedges. But on the other side of the road, there's a dip, and I go airborne every bloody time, and it's brilliant. Another issue up here is you get starlings. It's where local knowledge can help. You get starlings and other birds nesting. So you get fucking twitchers parking up on the road to spy on them. Either they're twitchers looking for birdies or they're perverts looking at naturists. Either way, they're eyeing up birds with big ass zoom lenses. All the brown on here again is compressed shit that has been dropped by farmers. It might look like it's not a big issue, but it's extremely slippery. You want to really avoid the middle of the road here, because even though it's slippery when it's compressed, it's a lot less dodgy than the middle of the lane where you're going to get rocks. Coming down through here, lots of the junctions. Always expect with trees for tractors to come out, four-wheel drives to come out. You also there's two big barns up here where they're growing weed. Now, I don't smoke weed, but I know what it smells like. And when you go through an area and all you can smell is puff puff, you know damn well they're growing it. If the police don't give a shit, why should anybody else? Coming down through here, a lot of rocks in the middle of that lane. Also gouge marks. This is a place where the farmers do not like people on the road and they would chuck crap down on the bends. You've got a lot of rich people living on the right hand side here where they just don't give a shit. They'll go there drinking their Highland spring water and they will get pissed up and then they'll just drive home 100 miles and they don't give a crap who they run off. Another issue here is that you've got a lot of very dodgy junctions. On the right hand side, because you're on a valley, when they come up to join this road, they can't see shit. And so they just edge out, and then just fucking dive and go for it and just hope for the best. So you need to be more aware what's going to happen. Camper van was on the wrong side of the road and didn't give a shit because she was screaming at him. You have to be, it's very helpful if you're aware. Dodgy junction on the left. Very dodgy junction. Back into the area where we have lots and lots of overshadows. And this can actually give you an epileptic seizure if you've got any issues with epilepsy or if you're photosensitive. Because the constant blah, 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 blah of the sunlight through the trees. Yes, it's pretty, but also a lot of rocks in the middle of this road. A lot of rocks. Unfortunately, you also get a really nice bit for going fast. Just about here. Not that I would go more than 60 miles an hour, because that would be naughty. And as you can see, I'm only doing about 35 miles per hour here. There's no junctions here. There's one on the right-hand side, but you've got good visibility from this direction, so you can see what's coming out. You've got two entrances to fields on the left. You've also got good visibility to see if there's any tractors coming out. There's one on the right-hand side, and you can see for any tractors. There's one on the left, but that's actually a gap in the hedge, not an entrance. Here, you get hassled with this metal grate, which is evil. And this is where you're going to get more sheep. Not on this day, but you get a lot of sheep that will congregate around here, because this is where the Irish come to feed them and steal them. And it's on the next hill over twice a year where they come and feed the horses and steal them to take them to Ireland to sell them. There's two major horse fairs in Ireland. One in spring, one in the autumn. One is in, what's the name of that bloody town in County Clare? They do a road race there as well. They do one horse fair there, then they do the main one in County Kerry, the town called Castle Island, like Paddy Central. left hand side coming up where that car is parked, this is where you do not want to park, where that guy is there, because it is such a steep camber, you'll have hell's work getting the bike off there. Believe me, I know. This stretch of road, it is quite nice, but sheep are a big issue. You will have them going from the right hand side of the high bank and just doing a suicide dive across the road to go down into the other field. Left hand car park is okay, but it's very, very gravelly and rocky to get into it, which means those rocks end up on the road. That was a crossroads we went through, which has an ice cream van, very, very popular dogging site sort of thing. So you get people parking up a lot at night time. Sheep are a big issue on this road. The biggest danger on this road is it's really, really fun to go fast. I mean, really, really, really fun. Not that I would ever do 135 on this road, because after 105, I'd stop looking at the speedo. But you have to keep a very good eye out on who's coming up the hill, and sheep and horses. That cattle grid is also quite evil going down. Going up is all right, but going down is nasty. It's not as nasty as fishy, but it is quite bad. See, coming down this hill now, I'm only doing 50, 55 miles an hour, but I'm in 6th gear at about 3,500 RPM. So I'm just basically coasting. The engine's not doing any raw power. It is just ticking over. Tick over on the bike is about 1,500 RPM. So at about 3,500, 4,000 RPM, it's not much more than tick over. I'm just maintaining the 50, 55 mile an hour speed. Because coming down here, you've got to be aware, you're going to have people coming up on the wrong side of the road. Certain days of the week, you got issues. I think this is one of the steepest roads in the county, steepest hills in the county. You have to be aware of people using this road as a run to go to the pub. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, very, very dodgy for people using it as a pub run. Weekends and Wednesdays, people using it for drug runs to go and deliver weed. These are things you got to take into account, because you've got people under the influence who aren't going to give a shit, and they sure as hell aren't going to stop if they run you off the road. Same thing as before with trees. You're going to get crap on the road. You're going to get branches on the road, leaves on the road. Daytime is not as big a risk because you've got more traffic and they'll help to clear it out of the way. But nighttime, early in the morning, you don't have that. This bend is very dodgy. That's actually a skate road to the left. It's very dodgy because you get compressed leaves, which are extremely slippery. And because you get fuckwits on this road, they always go on the wrong side of the road on these bends. This is the worst bend here. And you actually double back on yourself twice. And yet the buses just don't give a shit. They'll go completely on the wrong side of the road. What you're supposed to do, in theory, is sound your horn before going on the wrong side of the road if you've got no choice. I sound my horn if I'm approaching a bend or a junction where I think somebody might be on the wrong side of the road. Generally, I'm right, because you get used to what to expect. You may sound your horn on two very specific times. Firstly, if something is in motion, it's proving a threat. And secondly, if you're going through a tunnel. But that is mitigated with you revving the bike really, really loud. Coming down through here, I got the right of way. He didn't bother stopping. He actually went off the road and hit that wall. Possibly because I shouted at him as I went past. Now, I'm coming downhill. That means I have the right of way. I'm the smaller vehicle. Therefore, I have the right of way. I don't have a reverse gear. Therefore, I have the right of way. He didn't give a fuck. He just kept going. Because he's got crumple zones. He's got airbags. He's old. And she was giving him mouth. On these bends, I'm keeping fairly tight on some of these bends to the left-hand side, because I know that people go on the wrong side of the road on these bends every time. This is also new tarmac, which they didn't do properly. Surprise, surprise. But I do a job and be proud of it, when you can fuck it up and get paid to do it again tomorrow. So all of these manhole covers are raised above the ground. So they're like mobile ice rinks. Up here, woman and her puppy. Up here, child and her puppy. You got to see these things half a mile before you get near them. Because you've got to take into account, is that kid going to go, oh, giggly, a bike, and let go of the dog? Is the dog going to go, oh shit, a bike, and try and eat you? You have to take into account all of these things before you come near it. You got to take into account that bend that just came up. Can I do it without falling over? It's a two-way road. Most people don't seem to realise that is actually a two-way hill. On one side, it's single carriageway. The other side is two-way traffic. This one, lots of expensive residential properties on the left. Very, very dodgy because they've all got four-wheel drives and they don't give a crap. It's a fairly fast run. You don't get much crap on there, but you see the fresh dirt on the left? That's where it's been hit by coaches and by tractors. So you do get crap in the middle of the road, stones and rocks. Got to be careful. Normally on this bit, I would keep this line, but the reason I'm going so wibbly wobbly at the moment is I've got a fly doing breakdance in my eyelid, which is why I'm fucking about with my helmet. I've actually got a bug inside my eyelid wriggling around. The bastard. What I just came across with this slight humpback bridge on a bend. You have to be careful on that because people will go on the wrong side of the road. It's not a traffic calming scheme, it's a frickin' bridge. These bends, some people say you have to slow down to 20 miles per hour. You could easily go around it at 60 without crossing the white line. But you have to expect people coming towards you to be on the wrong side of the road. This is a dodgy junction. There's 5 entrances on that bend. 5. You've got 2 for the junction, and then you've got 3 houses. You've also got 1, possibly 2 gates to fields. That's 5 potential hazards in one go. You've got entrances to a little hamlet up to the left, which is mainly pensioners with their drive-on diggers who have a field across on the right-hand side where they grow weed. So they're driving around in a 2-ton digger, you know, those little baby diggers, stoned, coming across this bit of road. Yes, I did post a video about that and where I spent 10 minutes screaming at the bastard. Because if it weren't for the fact that my bike has such good front brakes, I would have been dead. If I'd had a passenger on the back, I would have been dead. And he just didn't give a fuck. Until I pointed out my camera. This stretch of road, I'm going nice and easy, even though it's really straight, because you've got a crossroads there and it's very, very dodgy. I do not accelerate to the point of overtaking until I can see where the fuck I'm going. And I can see that there's no entrances to fields. That is why I let rip on there. So that's how fast I was going. This truck is one of the most dangerous people I have seen in a very long time. He's actually on the wrong side of the road. At this moment in time, I'm actually trying to get attention to tell him to pull over because he is that dangerous. I'm doing 65 and he's pulling away from me. He's doing about 90. And he is on the wrong side of the road practically all the time. Those 2 cars that went past, they both went into the hedge. They didn't crash, but they both skirted the hedge. See where he's on the road now? He's actually on the wrong side of the road on these bends. And it's not just a one-off, it's a constant thing. Now, if he's down for a piss, there's plenty of laybys he could pull over in. But he is just constantly swerving all over the place. Also, something else you can't see from this angle, I did try to get closer to show it, but I didn't want to get smacked by the vehicle, is that on the left-hand side, there's a metal strap hanging down and it's hitting the ground. Now, it's not just the fact that it's taking chunks out of the tarmac, it's the fact that it's hitting the road and it's throwing stones up into the air. You just see a stone just fly past in front of me. You see, this is a blind road and he's going all over the place, causing cars to actually swerve off the road. Now, the reason I'm trying to get so close to him, not so close that he can reverse into me, but I'm trying to get close enough to actually get a good image so I can see who it is and get the vehicle reg, which I did. It's called Jay's Transport from Bridgewater. I told the police, I don't know if he's drunk or stoned, and they told me to mind my own business. This is the attitude of the police. They don't care. Unless they can get a guaranteed thing or publicity, they don't give a shit. This is what is really... I was about to overtake him on this straight run. It's in a very fast, very straight line. You can do 160 quite easily. Now, I was thinking of overtaking him, but alarm bells are going off and I didn't want to get that close. And it's a fucking good job that I didn't. Because he didn't indicate and just swerved right across the road into a lay-by, into the exit of a lay-by. And I'm not sure if he hit that other truck, but I'd be very surprised if he didn't. And that is pretty much it. Back to Minehead. This road, also very dodgy, a lot of roadworks and building work going on in town after the IRA did a bit of arson work on its own building so they could turn it into flats, which means you got a lot of crap on this road. Because of the crap on the road, that middle white line has built up a solid layer on that white line. So if you try and go over that white line here, you will slide. Believe me, I've done it because I keep forgetting. You've got gouge marks on the road, you've got white lines on the road. These are all slippery. And that's when they're dry. Fuck it. That'll do. I don't say ride safe because I'm not a car driver. I will simply say ride how the fuck you want, when you want, how you want. Just take responsibility for your actions. Ash's golden rule. Unless threatened or invited, you only endanger yourself.